Hey guys, welcome back, and today we are going to be making some fermented salsa. Fermented salsa uses the biochemical process of lactic acid fermentation, or lactofermentation. So lactofermentation is an anaerobic respiration process, which basically just means that it happens without oxygen. So there's no oxygen present during this. This is basically where lactic bacteria is going to break down your glucose and your sugar and turn it into lactic acid. This actually helps to preserve your food, which is what makes it shelf stable, and this also gives it that kind of sweet, tangy flavor. And then this also gives you a lot of probiotic benefits by fermentating your food. This process is done through glycolysis, which is where the lactic acid bacteria is going to break down the sugars such as glucose from your vegetables and things. And then it's going to go through lactic acid conversion, which is where your pyruvate is turned into lactic acid, basically by the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. So let's get ready to do it. You're going to need some cilantro, a red or yellow onion, I like yellow, a lime, a jalapeno, just one should be good for this unless you want to do it super spicy. You can add other types of peppers as well. We're going to do a bell pepper, some garlic cloves, and these are my lovely homegrown tomatoes. I have a variety here. I actually have a lot of different types of tomatoes. That's up to you. We're going to need some sea salt. Make sure that your salt says it does not supply iodide. This can affect the fermentation process. So whatever salt you use, like Himalayan sea salts, make sure that it is not iodized. And then we're going to need one jar. So for this, we're just going to go ahead and start by cutting everything up. A lot of people will want to remove the seeds if it's too hot. I know I'm not super big into spice, so I am going to remove the seeds from mine and not put it in. Some people will leave it in, and that's perfectly fine. I think little chunks are good for me. I'm going to put them in our bowl. I like my salsa to be super chunky, but if you want, you can even chop them smaller. Alright, jalapenos. Now we're going to go ahead and do the bell pepper. So kind of got the start looking in there. It's starting to actually look like something. Alright, starting to look like something. We'll take our bowl. Woo! I wear glasses and I'm still crying. Okay, we're gonna bring in this because my eyes are hurting way too bad. Alright, woohoo. Whew, okay, that was rough. Let's continue on. So on your tomatoes, you should have roughly about 2 cups of tomatoes, so I would say 4 decently large tomatoes. These are kind of on the small side, so I'm going to be using a little bit more. Alright, next up is we're going to chop our cilantro. So mix all this up. Alright, that's kind of what we're looking like. We're still not done. We still have to add our lime. I'm just gonna put it right in there. Boop. Alright, next you're gonna need some measuring spoons. You're specifically gonna need 1 teaspoon. And we're gonna do it twice. We're gonna take our salt. Remember that your salt needs to be uniodized or non-iodized. 1 and We're gonna mix it up again, make sure it gets a little all in there and everywhere. Alright, looking and smelling pretty good. Now we're gonna go ahead and put it into our jar. You could use a funnel if you'd like. I feel like that's just more dishes. Alright, there's one jar. We're gonna go ahead and put the lid on it. Throw the other lid, apparently. Wow. Gonna tighten that bad boy down. Since I'm not using a fermentation lid, I will have to come back and open this every day for the next 3 days. That way, I can let the gas bubbles out, because what's gonna happen is when it ferments, there's gonna create gas bubbles. And so I'll talk more about that later, but we'll make sure to remember to do that. Since mine made so much, we're gonna go ahead and fill some extra jars. All right, so throughout this experiment, this is about the amount of salsa I got out of that. And we're gonna put him, and him right there for the next 3 days. So the whole purpose in letting that set is for the fermentation process to happen. We're basically letting that enzyme, the lactic dehydrogenase, create that lactic acid bacteria, which is going to be what breaks down those sugars, like the glucose, which is what was in like the tomatoes and stuff like that. It's going to break that down, and when it breaks that down is what creates that gas. To keep our jars from exploding, that's why we open it every day or so. So I did it about 16 hours after 20 hours, yeah. But basically we'll just do that about once a day for 3 days, and then we'll be ready to eat and refrigerate.
So we made our salsa, and it was a lot of fun, a little bit of suffering in there with the onions, but we got our salsa. So what's actually happening inside the jar? So lactic acid fermentation is the process where microorganisms convert sugar into lactic acid in the absence of oxygen. So the first step of the lactic acid fermentation is going to be the glycolysis. This is going to be where you have a glucose molecule, and it's going to be broken down into 2 pyruvate molecules. From here, you're going to have the second step, which is fermentation. So during the fermentation process, you're going to have your pyruvate molecule, and it's going to be converted with the lactate dehydrogenase. It's going to be NADH, and it's going to turn to NAD+, and it's going to go to be reduced to your L-lactate. This is basically the conversion process where when oxygen is low, the electron transport chain doesn't really work right. That means that pyruvate cannot be broken down any further into smaller molecules to produce energy, or ATP in this case. Remember that pyruvate is the product from the glycolysis in the first step. The enzyme, which is the lactic acid dehydrogenase, or LDH, is going to catalyze this reaction, which kind of just gets it up and running again, by using the NADH to reduce the pyruvate into this L-lactate. This basically causes the NADH to turn back into NAD+, which then allows your glycolysis to continue. So it basically just turns it right back here so that this can be created to more pyruvate to create more ATP. And then from there, you get your salsa. So I had a lot of fun making this salsa, but I did want to talk to you guys a little bit about like what are the benefits for having fermented foods. Well, one of the benefits is it adds probiotics to your digestive tract, which is really healthy. It's great for digestion. It's great for supporting your gut microbiome. It also strengthens your immunity by giving you just some of that healthy bacteria. And then it also increases your vitamin levels. So, I mean, it's always good to have the right amount of vitamins to make sure your body functions correctly. And then, actually, something that I discovered while doing some research was that fermented foods are actually known to also support your mental health. So that's actually new research that's coming out, and it basically states that your gut and your mental health are having a gut-to-brain connection. So keeping a balanced gut microbiome may actually reduce things such as stress, anxiety, depression. So little did you know, your salsa here might be doing a little bit more than just a chemistry lesson for you. But thought it was pretty interesting. So that's basically how lactic acid fermentation works.
I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. Go Pokes!